All right, this is the between, I think we're on part 13 now, which is pretty exciting. Lucky number 13. So we didn't have Willoughby last time, and then before that we had like a little bit of a gap in the playtime. So I want to do maybe like a slightly more in-depth recap than we would normally do. And also I need to go fix my AC vent. So one moment.
Quick, the GM's away. Resurrect Mr. Turner. We have his ashes. We can do it.
I love it.
If only we had a magic user.
Okay, so let's do let's just do some recapping. So one of the things that came up last week out of character that we weren't 100% sure about because we had that 2-week break is, did you all actually resolve the Creature of Cremorne Gardens? I went back and watched the video. You did not. There was loads of discussion about the answer question was really long and like it was good, but like, and we came up with a great theory, but no action has actually been taken. So I think I want to start there as far as like where that stands. So the Creature of Cremorne Gardens is ready to be resolved. The essential question that's been answered is that the fish creature is actually a revenant of a woman who was tossed overboard back in the day when Theodora Brathwaite pirated or captained a pirate ship. And so it's actually here in London to get revenge on Theodora, or to either get revenge or just have like some kind of resolution about this. That's still a little unclear, but it's okay because your task is, per the opportunity, lure it to you and either destroy it or convince it to go back wherever it came from. So however you want to do that is fine, but the core piece of information is that it's a revenant creature that in life was Theodora's lover when Theodora was a pirate queen. So that is sort of what's happening there. As far as the other active threat that's ready to go, that's the Whateley Camera. You have figured out the process by which to make the Whateley Camera operate. And here you can do two different things. You can reverse the process to bring Penelope Levy back, which will resolve the threat in the sense that the missing actress is no longer missing, and you might even be able to like get your hands on the camera or something if you wish. The other way to resolve the threat is to use the camera to transport yourself to the dimension that the being occupying the camera lives in, the fragrant void, if you will, and make contact with the entity there. That is probably the most dangerous option, but probably the more narratively interesting option. So it's up to you however you want to approach it. In any case, it's ready to go as well. Our other active threat is the Seamstress. And where is that at on here? Oh, it got moved over, okay. The Seamstress, we have 3 possible questions. How's the creature ensnaring her victims? You can resolve it by, that opens up the opportunity to resolve by basically being used as bait to bring the creature to you and then capturing or destroying. What is the creature's name? That will give you power over the creature. Or what does the creature truly want? This will allow you to strike a bargain with the creature according to Fey customs. And so those are your 3 questions there, any of which can be used to resolve the threat. You have 4 clues presently. This was a really interesting thing because last week, essentially what happened was Theodora showed up to the fashion show and she more or less forced Mr. Gemnadios to pick who was going to die at the fashion show. And Mr. Gemnadios chose Orrin Blackwood, the playwright. And so when Hazel Beaumont came downstairs from Dr. DeGore's laboratory to greet the group and to and to feed. Theodora pushed forward. Orrin Blackwood is the victim. The space went dark except for just Orrin, and we saw rows of red eyes. And then the sisters Sindula, who are Hazel's companions and henchmen, they pulled spider silk from the shadows from Hazel and used the spider silk to drape Mr. Blackwood in a spider silk fashion, right? And so they were doing that. Then everyone blacked out. And the next morning, it was just the hunters and one of the party attendees, Pomeroy, the one that had kind of made a little connection with Mr. Turner. Turns out that this was kind of a ruse or a scheme on Theodora's part, because Mr. Blackwood's cocooned body was left hanging on the front doorstep of Hargrave House. And so the hunters did nothing to stop either Vincent Pomeroy or a street person who was wandering by from going to the police. And so that caused D.I. Pettigrew to show up at an inconvenient moment. And then we had a scene where we discovered that D.I. Pettigrew is actually a worshiper of Mr. Gemnadios's, and that was a pretty wild scene. And so Mr. Gemnadios was able to send D.I. Pettigrew away, so there's no troubles. In any case, ultimately what ended up happening in the night phase that followed was Mr. Turner wanted to take Orrin Blackwood's body and bury it in the garden and do some ritual stuff with it. And Mr. Gemnadios stayed with him. And Dr. Tagore just did night work. And so Brian did all the unseen. And so the scene was essentially just Mr. Turner and Mr. Gemnadios, and the Limehouse Lurker, the boy vampire, showed up, and he and Mr. Gemnadios essentially watched Mr. Turner's ritual get out of control. A fiery angel appeared and consumed Mr. Turner in flame, and that was basically it. I think there was a detailed summary, but I think it was good to sort of get everybody on the same page. Did I miss anything, or is there anything we need to talk about?
Minorly that I scraped together his ashes, and he might be back.
Right. Yeah. You do have Mr. Turner's ashes. That's a good point. I think here it'd be really helpful to sort of do some talking about the remaining characters, because most everyone's in kind of like a narratively interesting place. Dr. Tagore, for example, is ready to animate the child. All the body parts have been acquired, and that's cool. So it is a thing. You even have like a personal quarters item in the silver spools of thread that will help you, and maybe that's something you do soon. I don't know. But in any case, it portends either one of two things. Essentially, well, there's really three things. No, two. One of the most likely thing is that Dr. Tagore is destroyed. Okay, that's or runs away, basically out of the game. Okay, that's the most likely outcome. But there could be an outcome where it's all very successful. And essentially, we get to see Dr. Tagore from here on out sort of raising the child and teaching the child how to be in the world. This is like ultimately what Dr. Tagore wanted, right? Brian, you have a little bit of control over that, depending on whether or not you use personal quarters items or Janus mask. But that's generally what the outcomes could be. Now, it could be that you run away and come back as the child and play the child, right? That's a playbook. It could be that the child destroys you, or no, does the child destroy you? No, you run away and the child becomes a menace. Let me just read it. I can't remember now. Okay, so basically, the child is, so on a 7 to 9, the child is alive, but it's disappointment or a horror. You leave Hargrave House, and the child is now the orphan and is a playbook available to the group. On a miss, the child is alive and consumed by anger or fear, and it becomes a threat. But Dr. Tagore is still in play. I had that wrong. So Dr. Tagore is still in play, and we have the threat of the child. Or the best result, by the numbers at least, is it works, and the child becomes like a sympathetic side character in Hargrave House. So anyway, something to think about. It's a critical moment for your character, right? Mr. Gemnadios is an interesting place because he has no more advancements to take. But his no more advancements to take, he has cleared the statue of all of its scars. And so the door is wide open for Mr. Gemnadios just to be straight up evil until his Janus masks are gone. So if you wish, that is sort of where we're at. You're not so tight on Janus masks. You've got you can make a few marks still, but that's definitely kind of where we see Mr. Gemnadios. You are kind of, in some ways, you're at the height of your power because the reflection is no longer scarred like it was, right? So it's like this is how you stayed alive for so long, because it just, the statue assumes your stuff and regenerates you, revivifies you. So that's sort of where we're at with Mr. Gemnadios. And then with Willoughby, you have a fair amount of Janus mask left as well, and that's mostly because of the moss-covered gate allows you to unmark some of them. So you get to have quite a bit of life. So I imagine Willoughby is going to be continuing on for the second campaign arc, right? I don't know why that wouldn't be the case. Mr. Gemnadios probably will be as well for a little bit. There's just no advancement, so you have to find your motivations and pleasures elsewhere, Drew, as far as Mr. Gemnadios goes. And so we have a new character entering the scene who is it Lord Florence Horrocks White? Or Lady? It is Lord. Okay.
Lord, yeah.
Okay, very good. So we don't know this character yet, but I will say this. You were already a resident of Hargrave House. You just haven't been around. You're literally just showing back up and like resuming your place in Hargrave House, and presumably the house will get you caught up on things that are going on. And so we don't have to have any scenes where we where the characters are catching you up or anything like that, right? You just slide right in, and maybe you've been off exploring something for Queen and Country. I don't know. But in any case, that's sort of big picture. That's how we handle a playbook introduction like this, because Hargrave House is assumed to be this, there's always people moving in and moving out, right? And there are people who know what goes on there. It has a past way before all of you guys, right? So, but I think we should go ahead and meet Lord Horrocks White. So tell us about them. Just the basics. Don't give us any backstory.
Right. Okay. So she wears black leather lace-up shoes, a signet ring, a gold pocket watch. I imagine herself as dressing for every occasion. So when she's like out adventuring, she's wearing adventuring attire, and then when she's back in London, she's performing her gender, but she's got like very functional, sinuous, lithe body with like a loping gait and like lots of functional muscle, essentially. And I picture her as a very cozy dresser, cardigans and just stuff that covers like a lot of her body so that she doesn't get like a lot of looks from the ladies or whatever, but is still very comfortable and functional and stuff like that. But she's not opposed to wearing jewelry and stuff because she's rich. And yeah, what else should I say?
We could talk a little bit about your
Vice's casinos.
Okay, good. And we can talk a little bit about your moves too. So the sort of you only have 2 moves. You never have more than 2 moves. It's the Grand Game and the Royal Explorers Club. The grand game is essentially your relationship with the mastermind, whoever that is at any given time. Right now it's Theodore Brathwaite, but if we do a second campaign arc, it could be somebody else, right? But essentially, your presence makes all the mastermind clue thresholds lower, and your presence also allows the group to use mastermind clues as part of your answer a question. So you actually get to use those, which is fun, as long as they were found during that investigation. And so, yeah, that's generally speaking just a very powerful thing. And whenever you have an intimate moment with the mastermind while you're doing your vice, you get to clear an appropriate condition, and I, as the mastermind, can ask you any question I want, which you must answer truthfully and completely. You don't have the option to obfuscate. So that's the grand game. And then the Royal Explorers Club is essentially, you have access to these, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, these 7 individuals who are all your social equals at the Royal Explorers Club. They are rich, and they use their, well, one of them's not, but the others use their money and influence to help Hargrave House. You can do this twice total until you take advancements. But essentially, they're all listed there, but they just do different things. Like one can fortify Hargrave House against threats. One can just cause Scotland Yard to be off your case completely. One will throw a party that you can all go to, and you can name the side characters who you want to be at the party. One provides an armory, like you get everyone gets specialized weapons for the hunt. You can, there's one that answers questions particularly well about antiquities in the ancient world, and another that answers questions well about the occult and paranormal. And then the last one is not actually an upper class person. It's a handsome cab driver, but it's probably the most powerful one because it lets you do 2 night phases in a row. So you got a bunch of threats to resolve. You can do 2 night phases in a row to get them all knocked out, right? So that's something you can do as well. So these are all very powerful effects, but you only get to do it twice. So until you take advancements. So that's sort of how that goes. And I'm going to go ahead and read the little introductory portion, and then everybody else, if you'll pay attention and say what you think is in Lord Horrocks White's personal quarters based off what we say. So, you were born into a world of fantastic wealth and privilege. You could have spent your days cosseted by luxury with nothing more pressing than deciding what to wear to that evening's dinner party. But you chose a different life. You chose to serve your queen. You leveraged your wealth and connections to explore the world, to chart unknown territory. And now you have a mountain range named after you, a fitting honor considering you tower over other Britons. Your strength, your intellect, your cunning, none can match it. None except the mastermind who plots ceaselessly against Her Majesty, whose mind and resources dwarf your own. You have conquered every trial the gods have placed before you, but the mastermind is something altogether different. And your new work, your work with Hargrave House, is connected to them in some way. You spend your days and nights exploring the true heart of darkness, the monsters that stalk the streets of London, but none are so monstrous as your opponent, the one who sits on the other side of the chessboard. Will Great Britain be standing when the grand game is over? Who knows? But that is what we know for now. So if everybody else would like to offer something up for personal quarters, that would be great.
I believe that the Lord has a staff that she picked up from some culture on a different continent, kind of fill that in as it is, but something that she maybe lifted off of a shaman and had mystical properties alluded to.
Great.
I think you have a little black notebook of juicy details of other upper crusters that may come in handy.
Very Virginia Woolf.
Drew, and I think a lot of like, I was going to go with a collection of love letters that were all, received all blah blah. Maybe I'll do something else here. Let's do a very dog-eared atlas with a lot of hand scribbled notes where you've made adjustments and corrections.
Splendid. And we'll just roll right into the day phase. I believe that's where we're at. Willoughby, if you want to go ahead and take a experience point for answering a question last time, you can do that now. And no more threats will be introduced, even though we're at 3 max. Even if we weren't, there are no more, because you're at the threshold now where that doesn't happen anymore.
Can you clarify for me, is that threshold based on mastermind clues?
Yes, the number of mastermind clues. And I think I want to start actually with just a scene. Normally I let you request scenes, but here I want a little scene to kind of get Lord Florence on the board a little bit. And I'm going to frame it up with Lord Florence, you're having tea with Theodora Brathwaite at Brathwaite Hall. And Brathwaite Hall is much bigger and more elaborate and richer and decadent than Hargrave House, than any place you've lived. Theodora, of course, the history there, she was a pirate queen, and her capture by the Royal Navy was a major news item back in the day. It was a big deal. And she was going to be hung. But a young, at that time, Princess Victoria, stepped in and stopped the hanging. She was intrigued by the tales of swashbuckling daring do of the pirate queen of Barbuda, and she stopped it. And over the next decades, they had a very close relationship. You know this. But at some point, that relationship soured. And now Queen Victoria is a thorn in Theodora's side, because Theodora is a sort of like monster capitalist, essentially, and she wants no taxes on exports and imports. She wants free reign to do whatever she wants to do with her business, and Queen Victoria interferes with Parliament all the time. And so there's a personal thing, but there's also a financial thing that kind of causes them to be at loggerheads. Also, Queen Victoria became a moralist at some point, and that also clashes with Theodora's sort of style. And so you know these things about Theodora and the Queen, right? And Theodora considers you a rival as well. The two of you have a sort of history of some sort together as well. Maybe we'll learn more. But in any case, you're having tea with her. And she's there in her normal, in her signature sapphire blue color, not a very fancy gown, just something a little more slim fitting and functional. And her incredibly ancient butler, Elmore, has just set down the tea service on a little table in a sun-drenched sitting room. What are you doing? How do you look, and what are you doing?
So if we're having tea, I've probably dressed a little bit up, maybe in a dress instead of what I've got in the picture, the cardigan type stuff, but not too high class. Like, it's meant to be a bit of a slight against Theodora, like not acknowledging her status completely.
I didn't bother to dress up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. She says, Florence, my dear, you're a little dressed down today.
Well, I'm hardly wearing my casuals.
No, I just thought perhaps maybe you haven't had a chance to have your people prepare anything suitable for you since you returned to London.
Well, my return was a bit sudden. Things have been all ablaze here in London.
Yes, indeed. So I understand you are going to resume residence at Hargrave House?
Possibly. Where else would I go?
Oh, don't play coy. I know you are. I've been kind of engaged with Hargrave House myself lately.
Engaged in which manner?
I just find everyone there so interesting. So many intriguing people, so many intriguing plot lines in the story, if you will, and I want to chase them all down.
Aren't you a little bit old to be chasing things down?
Oh, touche, Florence, touche. Oh, you know, since I don't have many years left on the earth, I want to make the best of them, right? Make the best of my remaining days with sport and intrigue.
Entertainment.
Precisely.
And things have been entertaining, I take it?
Oh, most certainly, most certainly. That Mr. Gemnadios, he is a very intriguing man, and I fear I've upset him a little bit in recent weeks. I regret it because, well, just between you and me, I would love to have him in my bed sometime.
Yeah. You put a dent in his chiseled features?
Well, I just think Mr. Gemnadios is accustomed to always being the belle of the ball. And when he's not, he gets a little surly. That's all.
And that's exciting to you.
Oh, in a way, yes, very much so. And of course, the other resident, Dr. Tagore. Oh, and Mr. Turner as well. Although, have you heard? Mr. Turner is apparently moved out, no longer there. I don't really know what the story is.
Well, as you know, people from Hargrave tend to leave and return.
Yes. But Dr. Tagore is a fascinating creature as well. Has a smell I don't really prefer. I try to keep my distance whenever I'm calling on them. He gets up to some dark work, don't you think?
Oh, I couldn't say. I'm hardly a gossip, as you know.
An associate of mine tells me that he has a secret space somewhere in Hargrave House, a space that no one else knows about. You should try to find it.
What
It'd
makes
be a
you think
treasure
I don't
hunt.
already know?
Oh, I know you don't already know because you would have let slip already. You're terrible at having secrets. That's what makes me a more, well, that's what makes me your most worthy opponent.
Hmm. Are you sure it isn't your nose being stuck in every crevasse?
No, it's that as well. I do like a good crevasse. You get ready to sip your tea, and she puts her hand over the cup and lowers it. She says, Elmore's almost certainly put arsenic in it. I wouldn't.
Oh, is he still up to his games?
Oh, yes, yes. He's a bit of a free agent now, poisoning people left and right. I can't even control the man.
So why keep him around?
Well, it's the comfort of the familiar, isn't it?
Indeed. So how do you stay alive with such people around you?
Oh, well, Elmore's very, very loyal. He gets even a whiff of dissatisfaction on my part, someone else, and arsenic straight in the tea. I can't do anything about it. How many times I strongly encourage him not to do so.
Sounds a bit lonely though, with everybody gunning for you. Where are your friends?
I keep my company. I have a new person living here, in fact, very, very intriguing person, but you can't meet him right now. He likes to sleep in.
And does he get some of the specialty as well?
Oh, well, I'm sure Elmo's attempted to poison him numerous times, but he and my new friend has a very, very hearty constitution.
So some things are safe at an English breakfast.
It would seem. Well, do you need any help moving into Hargrave House? I'm happy to hire someone for you in case you're a little short.
Oh no, I sent the deckhands with my things.
Yeah, very good. Well, perhaps I'll call on you tonight or very soon, in any case.
I can hardly wait.
And with that, we shall proceed with a normal day phase procedure now that Lord White is on the board. Let's just go around the table and find out what everybody wants to do. Start with Mr. Gemnadios.
He's interested in closing the Whateley Camera loop.
Can't do it in the day, so you
Right.
have to do something else. You're certainly welcome to just go over there and make preparations, but
Well, we've got that answered already. So in that case, I think maybe he will try and leverage some of his contacts to see what he can learn about the Seamstress.
Oh, one thing about the Seamstress, the ritual that Mr. Turner performed last time bound the sister Sendula to the shop, so they're no longer a threat outside of the shop. Just a little detail. So sorry, once again, Mr. Gemnadios, you're going to leverage your contacts to do what now?
To see what he can find out about the Seamstress, who's maybe used her services in the past.
Sounds good. Dr. Tagore, what are you going to do during the day phase?
I think two things. I think I need to stop by the shop and commission a dress here for Dottie or some sort of clothing, as I talked about with Hazel. And then, well, yeah, I feel like given the riskiness of raising the child here, I should like do a final like check-in with Periwinkle, just in case I never see him again.
Yeah. So you're gonna go talk to Periwinkle?
Yeah, well, I guess we could just do that in resolving the threat, presuming he's there. I don't know.
I mean, you can just have the scene because you want to. It doesn't have to serve any, mechanical purpose.
I feel like, well, let's just do this. I'll just focus on the seamstresses and trying to both get a dress and gather some clues because we need more clues for that particular threat.
You are owed a dress, so that's good. Fantastic. Willoughby, what are you going to do?
Willoughby would try and quarter Mr. Gemnadios before he heads out for the day for a vulnerable move.
Sounds good. And Lord White, what you're thinking?
I wouldn't mind going along to with Mr. or Dr. Tagore to hit up Periwinkle, because I think the little needling that Theodore did about the dressing has hit home, and she wouldn't mind a few more garments, and Periwinkle seems to would probably know people like that and is dressed up all the time and whatnot.
Well, let me make sure I understand correctly. So, Dr. Tagore, you're going to the shop, right? To Hazel Beaumont's shop.
I think I'm just going to Hazel Beaumont's shop.
Yeah, you could take Periwinkle. I think that's fun.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And some fashion advice. Periwinkle, come along.
Yeah. But you want to go with them? Yes, Lord White.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a few more things to dress myself in.
Very good. Okay, so it sounds like everyone's pretty focused on the seamstress, but we are going to start with Willoughby and Mr. Gemnadios. So let's just have that scene. Sarah, frame it up. Like, what's going on in the scene?
Willoughby left the fashion show, just disappeared after serving drinks and and all of the fufra and was just overwhelmed and has essentially been on a bender for the last 2 days and is coming in and then kind of going to Mr. Gemnadios and apologizing and then kind of explaining. Good morning, sir.
It's nice to see you up and about, Willoughby. I'm glad you've decided to resume your duties.
It was a fraught couple of days. I remember some of it. I don't usually kill that many people. I think I've killed maybe 2 people total, and I think both of them were pigs. Pigs. I'm sorry. I go and pour myself a glass of water.
Well, you've plenty of time to up your score.
Unfortunately, I still have that bloody song stuck in my head. And I can't even give Mr. Turner the gift I got him. It wasn't a very good gift. It was just one of those things that seemed like a good idea in the midst of my drink. And Willoughby pulls a little satchel out and sets it on the table next to them. Are you quite well?
Oh, never better, my friend.
Truly.
I feel refreshed and ready to take on the next challenges our career throws at us.
Well, I'm very glad to hear it. It's nice that the Lord Florence is back with us. She's always such a bright spot to have about.
Indeed, I'm sure she will bring much needed femininity to this place.
Adorable. The way you jested me. You must be still mad I was gone.
Oh, I am not one for anger.
Often, Willoughby mumbles.
I love it. That feels like scene. What conditions are being cleared here?
I need to get this earworm out of my head.
Okay, I could go ahead and knock that out. I think because you talked about that for sure. And did you have any, Mr. Gemnadios?
I do. I am tainted and smell of burning flesh, and perhaps with Willoughby's assistance, now that they're back on the job, he can finally rid himself of that scent.
Indeed. Good. A little perfumed handkerchief, perhaps, right?
For once, it's not me smelling of flesh.
Since it was your vice, Willoughby, you get to choose whether you find a clue or whether you want to invite Mr. Gemnadios to ask you a question about your past.
I will invite Mr. Gemnadios to ask a question. I am hoping it's what's in the bag.
I will bite. Alexander will stare pointedly at the bag and kind of tip his head towards it and say, and the gift was?
Oh, well, in the thralls of my liquor, I went to Bedlam. And I thought dispatching the last of the figs would both make me feel better, having adored their pies and been ferociously sick at the thought of eating them after we found out the truth. But I brought Mr. Turner the hand of Papa Fig in hopes that he might have fun enchanting it or otherwise having some sort of ritual fun with it. But alas, I'll have to set it next to his ashes on the shelf.
Yes, I'm sure he would have enjoyed that.
Or are we off to the shops?
Oh, are you joining me today? How delightful.
Well, at least let me refresh you and I'll begin to dress him appropriate to the fashion standards.
Very good, very good. Dr. Tagore and Lord White, I think I'd just like to have the scene first with just the two of you. It doesn't have to be vulnerable mood necessarily, just I don't know, just kind of getting to know you here in the moment kind of scene as you're sort of going to the Society Obscura to pick up Periwinkle. maybe walking.
I'm picturing before the walk, Fraser, if this works for you, Lord White goes to try and find me in the infirmary. I'm not there, turns around, goes to leave, and then I am there, having come out of the secret door with a little notebook, and I'm writing down some measurements, and you see basically a drawing of a figure with sort of like waist, height, sleeve length.
Yeah, we can have that scene. That sounds good. Let's do that.
All right.
You might want to be careful suddenly appearing in front of people.
Goodness. Sorry, let me back up a sort of out of character question here. I'm aware of the existence of Lord White, right? I just may or may not have met them in person in the past.
No, you know them. Yeah, you know her.
Okay.
She's just been gone. That's all.
Got it. All right. So Lord White, it's I'm gonna like hide my notes. It's so great to see you again. You've been away. How were your journeys?
Oh, you know I can't talk of my exploits to the Queen, and I wink.
Yeah, the weather at least. Chilly, sultry.
I adore being back in the chill of British rain, of course.
Lovely. Speaking of that, we have a walk ahead of us. If you want to join me, I'm commissioning a dress, and need to drop off these measurements with the tailor. You might like to meet them. They're peculiar folk.
Peculiar, fun, peculiar.
Possibly not of this realm. We're I guess you could say we're investigating, and your expertise, your range of experience might give us a little more of an ability to hone in on what exactly their angle is here. I think we're not quite sure what they seek yet.
I did miss this. Let me grab my walking stick. And as we walk, I'll loop my my arm around yours. It's an escort.
It's quite delightful.
Good. So a little a chilly, misty walk in London this afternoon. Fantastic. Let's switch over to Mr. Gemnadios and Willoughby. Are you going straight to the shop, or are you like actually talking with other people, Mr. Gemnadios, to try to get information?
I was thinking maybe go and see Mr. Pomeroy.
Oh, Mr. Pomeroy, who betrayed you all and told the police about the body. Yes, Mr. Pomeroy. Mr. Pomeroy is a wealthy gentleman. He lives in West London, where he lives in a flat, but it's a very luxuriously appointed flat. You can be there. So he will, of course, remember you from the fashion show and the next morning. Is there anything else there we should know?
I don't think so. I don't think they're overly familiar.
So you both arrive at you go up the stairs to the level that his flat's on, and you're there at the door. What do you do?
Alexander will just take a step back and look at Willoughby as Willoughby's decided to do their job today.
Willoughby has, and in fact is making a big show of knocking on the door very formally and standing at attention.
You'll hear, one moment. And Mr. Pomeroy will actually answer the door himself. He'll say, "I'm terribly sorry. My man has the day off. I can't believe we even have to give them the day off. Isn't that something so novel? Can I help you?"
Mr. Gemnadios, for you, Lord Pomeroy.
Ah, yes, good. How lucky for you, Mr. Gemnadios, was it that your own servant is not wasting their money somewhere in a gutter in London when they could be working, and indeed are working. Fabulous. You look very familiar. Do I? Oh yes, yes. Oh yes. How can I help you?
I was hoping we could have a bit of a chat, Lord Pomeroy.
Do we have to really?
I'd be happy to attend you both.
Yes. Well, I have been craving a cup of tea, and I haven't the faintest idea of how to make one. So yes, that sounds fantastic. And he invites you both in.
Alexander will walk in and take off his hat and just hold it out to the side for Willoughby, and say, "It was so nice to meet you the other evening, Lord Pomeroy."
Let's have a paint the scene first for everyone. What do we see in the apartment that shows that Mr. Pomeroy is always chasing the next new thing, the next fad, the next fashion, the next popular thing in society?
As Willoughby, go ahead.
Just he has a whole stand of catalogs, like order by mail catalogs.
As Willoughby goes to hang up Mr. Gemnadios' hat, next to the cloak stand is several dusty parasols in every sort of lace and color, and it must have been 2 years ago. Those were actually in fashion. He bought one in every color.
There was for a time quite the interest in the stars and looking at the sky, and so there is a telescope that has become repurposed for as a clothes horse.
It's nice. I'm picturing just piles of boxes as yet unopened, like recent deliveries cascading back. So there's deliveries that are just sitting there unopened.
So Willoughby, while you're making tea, Mr. Gemnadios and Mr. Pomeroy will have a seat in his little sitting area, and he'll say, "Well, Mr. Gemnadios, what do I owe this visit? This is not about the unfortunate incident from several nights ago. I do hope you all were able to work that out."
It is by chance, but we were cleared of all suspicion, thankfully.
Oh, how wonderful to hear! I was very worried that perhaps the long arm of the law might try to reach you, and I'm very glad to hear that that's not the case. I can't imagine someone so debonair as you on a prison hulk, frankly.
Indeed, as it happens, Inspector Pettigrew is a dear friend of mine.
Oh, really? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That must be very helpful when something goes missing from your doorstep.
Very helpful. It's amazing the things you learn when you have a inspector in Scotland Yard at your
I had some very, very beautiful boxwoods in the hallway just in front of the door. They went missing, and I'll tell you, the police were not helpful with me at all. It was most insulting. They said they had better things to do. And, well, if you ask me, I mean, what's more important than maintaining a certain level of social cohesion? And you let one little thing like a boxwood go missing, and the next thing you know, bodies are floating in the Thames.
Yes, it escalates quite quickly. Speaking of escalation, I would hate to find our new friendship spoiled by anything, in fact. And to that end, I hope perhaps you might be able to help me. And in return, perhaps I can put in a word about your boxwoods.
Do the information move with presence? See how it goes. And I don't know if you're, let me take a look at what's your remaining conditions right now?
I am tainted.
Oh yeah, take that at disadvantage. Your normal affability, or not affability, but magnetism doesn't apply as much here.
Oh, at disadvantage.
Yeah, disadvantage.
That would be 6.
Hmm. He says, "Huh, I would love to help you in this way. I think that would be really wonderful." And then he says, I feel a bit funny. I hope you'll can you excuse me for a moment? I need to use the powder room." And he gets up and leaves you and goes to the powder room. And we'll cut the scene for now. I'll still give the Janus Mask option when we get back, depending on how it plays out. Willoughby, what are you doing in the meantime while you're making tea? Anything else?
Well, I was going to snoop just a little bit. Could spare the extra few minutes to
Yeah.
poke, and perhaps back towards the kitchen there'd be a study or another room, or perhaps even his man's quarters, if there was a reason maybe he was missing today.
I like it. Information move with reason. Go for it.
Ooh, that's a nice way to start. 11.
Very good. We'll come back to that. Dr. Tagore, Lord White, I think we could just pick up with you having picked up Periwinkle, and the three of you are walking along Seville Row, and the weather's cleared up. It's still a little chilly, but so you're all bundled up a little bit, but otherwise everything's okay. You have only ever seen Periwinkle in costumes that he wears for portraiture at the Society Obscura, but here you're actually seeing Periwinkle at leisure, if you will, and he actually has like a surprisingly like casual, maybe even like a little more masculine than normal kind of appearance. His clothes are not finely made necessarily, they're more sturdily made. He sort of walks with a more confident stride, and he just seems like a little more himself, I guess. He's not wearing makeup, for example, and I think he's just kind of walking between the two of you. And he says, "Lord White, it's so nice to meet you."
Oh, and you as well. I've heard so much.
He's like, "Yes, I'm sure you have heard stories. The Society Obscura is a very, very interesting place to work and live. The Abernethys are, they're wonderful employers, don't get me wrong, but they are eccentric."
Oh, I didn't realize that you lived there as well.
I do, yes. Dr. Tagore, what do you think about this sort of dressed down, casual Periwinkle?
Oh, it's just all part of the variety of the most charming person in London, as far as I can tell. So I will, partially for Periwinkle's sake, partially for Lord White's sake, gush on a bit about what a versatile and helpful individual Periwinkle is, and I'm so pleased to, despite differences in social rank and caste, have a chance to spend sort of a relaxed moment here. And I look forward to Periwinkle's excellent advice on costuming and wardrobe.
We've had so many adventures together already, Mr. White. Did Dr. Tagore tell you that, well, someone that I think was perhaps not a friend of you and the rest of your your associates attacked the Society Obscura? They were going to kill me, but then Mr. Gemnadios saved the day And yeah.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. You have been through the bringer then.
Yes. Well, there are lots of there's never a dull moment at the Society of Scorda.
Indeed, and now we can search for new threads, adventure after adventure after adventure.
Oh, is this more than just a clothes shopping afternoon, Dr. Tagore?
Is Periwinkle a playbook?
Well, I mean, I don't know, unless I don't know like how he would fit in to be a playbook. Yeah.
No. I think perhaps Lord White is alluding to our interest in further investigating the fabled camera that the society has in their possession. We're hoping perhaps this evening you can help us with just a moment of private time to investigate the device itself and its functions, and perhaps explore a little further.
He says, "Oh yes, certainly. Tonight's a great night to do it, because the Abernathys, the whole society, in fact, they're not. No one's going to be around tonight. They all have a party out in the country to attend to."
That sounds perfect.
And anything else in this scene? Are we good?
I think I'm good.
Okay, we'll pick back up at the shop, and then that'll be y'all's last day phase.
I'm just going to toss out a little foreboding closing remark of Periwinkle. Tell me, how do you feel about spiders? And then we can close there.
Yeah. Good. Mr. Gemnadios, Mr. Pomeroy is taken ill and is in the powder room. Willoughby, you've been poking around, and let me give you a clue real quick. Let me refresh myself on the actual clues you already have so I don't double up here. Okay, you have that one. Never mind. Okay. I had one I was about to give you again. You will notice Willoughby, that there are a few things askew. Importantly, you'll notice that things made of iron have either fallen or are knocked over. So there was, for example, an iron cross apparently hanging above the entrance to the apartment, but it's been tossed aside. And you'll notice that the poker for the fireplace, that whole fireplace tool set, has been covered by a blanket. And there'll be other things as well.
I had to go hunting for the tea kettle to find it.
Precisely.
It was actually, yes.
Yeah. Metal things, iron things have all been like either hidden or tossed aside or moved. It's unusual. Mr. Gemnadios, you can hear inside the powder room from the other side of the door. What do you do?
Decorum be damned. He's just going to open the door or push in.
You push in and you see You push in and you see he is laying in the corner of the powder room. His body has decomposed so dramatically, and flowers have taken root in his remains. He's even still a little bit alive, covered in flowers, and just his jaw and shriveled tongue. And then stops.
Alexander will sigh, and would there be any use in perhaps collecting a flower?
Sure, and if you wish. How do you feel, though, upon seeing this?
Annoyed. Perhaps he should have chosen Pomeroy because Blackwood would be more useful.
Indeed, indeed. Well, that is the state of things. What do you do after that?
He'll get up from where he was kneeling, looking at the flowers. He walks out and says, "You can forget about that tea, Willoughby. I believe it's time to leave."
Head pokes out of the kitchen. And will Mr. Pomeroy be joining us?
Oh, he's taken quite ill, actually. He has taken himself to the powder room. Perhaps you'd like to check in.
Willoughby diligently goes to the powder room and opens the door, and a tiny bit of bile in the back of the throat from the hangover. I see. We should go, sir. We don't need another entanglement with the police yet again this week.
Willoughby, take a nauseous condition for now.
On the way out, I would love to pick up the iron cross from the door, and as we leave.
You can add it to your personal quarters.
Please and thank you.
Dr. Tagore, Lord White, you're at the shop. Hazel Beaumont's shop. It's actually quite crowded with people, kind of jostling in the space, looking at dresses and suits on mannequins and admiring bolts of fabric that have been set out for effect. There's tea being served. You see the Sister Sandula. They are pretty busy with all the people in the shop. Lord White, what do you do?
If it's quite busy, then it might be a good time to snoop around, especially after Tagore alluding to them being strange in some ways. Maybe looking for a back way or something like that.
And Dr. Tagore, what are you going to do?
We don't yet know that they're bound to the house by Mr. Turner's ritual, right?
No, I don't know if Mr. Turner actually explained that to the group. I don't think it ever came up, and then Mr. Turner died. So, yeah.
I think I'm looking kind of at what tools are out in that gift of silver thread that I got from Hazel. I kind of want to know what other useful things might I acquire for my own surgical practices, be it more thread, some very special scissors, I don't know, something in that vein, seam ripper, something.
We'll do information moves when we get back. Let's just take a 5-minute break real quick. So, Lord White, you said you were going to go look around the back of the shop. Is that what you said?
Yeah, just wherever seems like they're not attending.
Yeah, kind of out of the way as best you can. I like that. Because the way it will be set up is the front is like a sort of display area. And then like maybe a little bit beyond that is where they would take measurements and stuff. There's like mirrors, and then a little beyond that is like the back office area, right? I think slipping into the back office area won't be too much trouble. The Sisters Syndulla are pretty busy, so you can go ahead and make the information move with reason.
Excellent. My reason is 1. And that is a 9.
Fantastic. And yeah. Come back to that. And Willoughby, you said you're just looking around generally, like in the front, is that right? Or not Willoughby, Dr. Gore.
Yeah, let me add a thing to that. When I spoke with Hazel, she said that I should contact her by finding a spider in its web in the corner. Let me take that as a mundane explanation of how to find a little dinging bell that must be out of sight that will summon her directly to me, so that I can kind of
yeah,
leap to the head of the line.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I don't need a roll here. You can do that. You can actually follow one such creature to the back, and you'll kind of come upon Mr. White as well, or Lord White rather. And there is a hatch in the floor of the back office area that seems to be where you're being led. But Lord White, your clue in the back office area, I'll give that to you now. You see an overdue bill for an expensive gown. And there's a little note that says in very like florid, spidery letters, warning the customer, nothing worthwhile is without cost, and the price must be paid. That's your clue. Dr. DeGore, are you going to go down the hatch?
Yeah, is Periwinkle tagging along with me?
No, actually, no. Periwinkle was a bit of a hit in the front of the store.
Of course he was.
I think that like he's sort of like started like offering suggestions and help to some of the women there, and the Sister Syndulla are even intrigued by Periwinkle. And I think like by the time you reach the back, they've already got Periwinkle already has like an audience of several people and the Sisters of Syndulla, and he's standing on a little ottoman while they take his measurements. So that's happening by the time you are working your way towards the back. This might be why you're able to get back there without anyone noticing, right?
Sounds good. I will.
They're all. Everyone's very anxious to undress Periwinkle. So
I'll go ahead and give a little knock on the hatch, and then gently pull it open, kind of whisper inside, "Hello, Miss Blackwood." Wait, not Blackwood. Beaumont. Miss Beaumont.
There's no response, but you do see a pair of like, those like kind of, they're normally iron stairs, very like tightly spiraling downwards, but they're not. They're made of wood. It's painted wood.
I'll kind of give a little polite motion to Lord White, to get Lord White's attention and be like, "I'm gonna go down here, I think," and then I'll sashay on down.
Lord White, what do you do?
I'll follow.
You get down, and this is Miss Beaumont's private workshop. You get down there and you see dozens of lamps hanging from the ceiling. Their flickering light seeking to escape. You see shelves overflowing with cascading bolts of expensive cloth, walls overgrown with grasping vines and withered flowers. and suits and gowns of exquisite craftsmanship line the room, connected by faint silvery thread and frozen in uncanny human gestures. Instead of mannequins, they are posed on what appears to be hollowed out bodies of former suitors of Miss Beaumont. I paint the scene for everyone. The bodies dressed and preserved here have been arranged with obsessive detail, obsessive attention to detail. How does their presentation mimic the setting of a Fae court? Because you all have experience with the Fae courts, right? Or at least Hargrave House knows of them, right? Think on it. It's a hard paint the scene, but it's a good one.
I think their eye color is arranged in a specific gradient.
Most of the suitors have been arranged in such a way, even their hands and their gestures are somewhat beckoning.
There are kind of so thin they're almost invisible, but drifting bits of web that are in the shape of wings coming off the shoulders of the various beings.
And all of them have some sort of an animal motif incorporated into each of them. Some have antlers, some horns, some scales.
Thank you. I'm actually going to end the day phase here with this shocking scene. And if you all want to come back at night, you can certainly do that. Something probably gets your attention and brings you back upstairs. Maybe you hear Periwinkle crying out, Dr. Tagore, I could use your help. And you see that Periwinkle is half dressed and he's feeling a little put upon by the crowd of people. Let's go to the desk.
Right. Can I slide off my plans for the dress or my dimensions for the dress to the Sister Sindula? I was on our way out of here.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
They can be delivered tonight if you wish. So. Let's go to the desk phase. Oh, for some reason it's not populating. I don't know why that is, but maybe Drew, you have some thoughts on why the phase switcher isn't populating right now.
Does the rose need to be rehidden?
I don't know.
That shouldn't change it. One moment. I have a duplicate of a working one. It won't populate with chosen things, but it seems to be working.
Yeah.
I'll poke at it.
I mean, I remember what we have to do, so it's not the end of the world. It's okay. I just can't remember the precise order.
Usually I'm up with Nightwork and or Resurrectionist.
Yeah, we got to figure out the moves. We got to do playbook moves, then we have to do paint the scene in Hargrave House. We have to do what's everyone doing, and then Janus Mask, and then that's it. So let's start with moves that trigger during the dusk. I think it's just Nightwork and the Resurrectionists. So are you going to be doing either or both, Dr. Tabor?
I think we should bring Grave Robber Harley with us to the Society Obscura.
Sounds good. And what is everyone interested in doing tonight? You have like you have two threats ready to go. You can split up and do both, of course. That's something you can definitely do. You can even theoretically answer a question right now, maybe on the Seamstress if you wanted to go for one of the easier questions, because you not only get your your 6 clues. Let me note here that you have another clue here, which was the unpaid bill. You have your 6 clues, plus you have one. You have one, the fashion show clue, as well, from the mastermind clues that you can use in the answer now because of Lord White's presence in the story. So you have 7 clues. You're in good shape to answer 2 of the questions, and not in, so that's also an option as well to do at some point soon. But in any case, let's just kind of figure out what everyone's interested in doing. I mean, Mr. Gemnadios, what do you think about for the upcoming night phase?
Sorry, I fixed the thing.
Okay.
In the night phase, I'd like to do the Whateley Camera. Take care of that.
Okay, so you're going to be going to the Society Obscura. I know, Dr. Tabor, that's what you want to do as well, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Lord White, what are you going to be doing?
I could go to either of the places, really. If Willoughby wants to do the gardens, I would go there. Otherwise, I'm happy to tag along to the
I will tell
camera.
you that the Creature of Cremorne Gardens, you got a 10 plus on your answer question. So this will be a really straightforward resolution. You're in the strong position here for Creature of Cremorne Gardens. Willoughby can almost certainly do it by themselves. So.
Oh, and Willoughby has the move where they could pop up. So maybe I'll go with the camera.
Okay.
I
Sounds
support
good.
that plan because I, still grieving Mr. Turner's departure, feel like this is a kind of swan song, so to speak, solving this last
Mhm.
Cremorne Gardens.
One other thing as well. If you want to use Unquenchable Thirst to clear Tainted, Mr. Gemnadios, I think that's appropriate here. And also, Lord White, if you want to use any of your Royal Explorer Club contacts right during the night phase, now is the time to choose them. So.
And I can only, for now, use that twice, though, right?
Twice in total, yeah.
In total, until I take advancements.
Mm-hmm.
So
and one of the advancements clears them, and then the others give you more uses. So.
Yeah, I'm okay for now.
Sounds good.
Speaking of conditions, is Most Beloved up for grabs again?
Oh, I actually never really entertained this idea in the rules. Sure, yeah. I think Gilded Door is available now for everyone. If somebody else wants to become the Most Beloved now that Mr. Turner's dead, the Gilded Door is now available for everyone on their Janus mask. So life is granted by death, right? So the circle of life. Ah, Savannah. So, yeah. Sounds like everyone's got a plan for tonight. That's good. Let's do paint the scene question. We have one left. The reception hall. Do you feel unsettled or at home when you enter Hargrave House? What do you perceive in the reception hall that reinforces this feeling?
I feel at home, and I think I do because there's some sort of plaque or whatever with the members of Hargrave House, various pictures, and I'm in some of them.
Willoughby also feels at home, but it is because they have arranged every stick of furniture and rug and dusted they have attended to every detail, so it feels quite welcoming to them.
Alexander feels still a little unsettled because this isn't exactly his home.
I feel a touch unsettled because there's a stain in the ceiling that's turning into a drip, and I've got a feeling it's coming from my lab.
Never let that drip fall into your mouth by accident. Good. Thank you. That's Hargrave House. Paint the scenes finished. Everyone's already said what they're going to do during the night phase. I got that out of order. And then, do we have any unresolved Janus Mask prompts? I don't think so. And so I shall introduce the unseen. Let's go to London at night. Haven't we done Madame Morvaine's boy tour? Thought so.
Yes.
Okay, mark that one done. And we've done the prison hall. We've done Bloodlarking. Done the Baker's Son. Done all these top ones except for the bitter end. Let's do a Night of the Grand Guignol again, but this time we're going to do the play called Good for Her. And so I shall read it to you. Every class of people in London, oh, if you want to follow along, this is in the 1, 2, 3, this is in the 4th row, second one in the 4th row. Every class of people in London is represented in the audience at the Theatre Grand Guignol. They have come to watch a production of Good for Her, a story about a nanny that murders the upper class children in her care. Everyone's going to do the initial paint the scene, and then I'm going to assign Drew to prompt 2, Sarah to prompt 3, and Brian to prompt 4. And let's go ahead and take a quick break. Take another 5. We'll come back and do the night phase. So. The Grand Guignol. Good for her. Everyone, as the limelights pop to life and the crimson curtain is raised, what do we see as we scan the stage that shows how the nanny lives a modest life compared to the rich family she serves?
She has a very small, standard, cheap suitcase in which all of her things could be packed into.
You see her with a needle and thread darning her own sock.
The set of her room is very small and very plain, and it opens up directly into a lavishly decorated hall.
As the colors are, it's the color palette between the two, her room and her surroundings, all muted in taupe and grays compared to the color in that grand hall.
Dr. Tagore, Mr. Gemnadios, Lord White. The door to the Society Obscura opens, and Periwinkle greets you. He's still dressed down because he's not taking pictures, right? And his employers are out. No one's around except him. And he invites you all in. A question for Dr. Tagore and Mr. Gemnadios. How is the energy in the townhouse different when the society is not there? Like, how does it feel different? How does it maybe look different?
The photograph theme rooms are all they are just put together, like pieces of the props are just pushed against the wall, and everything feels kind of calmer and like it's getting ready for the next thing.
I'm picturing it being extremely quiet, but then you hear that, upstairs the a very deliberate sound, and Periwinkle says, no one's here, just the building settling.
Lord White, the three of you are taken into the astral plane room, which is where the ritual will take place. The camera is set up. Periwinkle has the camera set up for you. That much is done. And Lord White, as you cross the threshold into the astral plane room with all of its strange objects set everywhere, the weird geometric shapes, the painted silver ceiling, and the camera itself. As you step into that room, Lord White, how does the energy change?
I think everything's just more heightened. Like even colors and sounds and everything just resound just a little bit more clear and sharply.
Of the three of you, who's going to be principally doing the procedure to get the camera to work?
I do have some experience with cameras.
That is true, you do. And is everyone going to be the subject of the photograph?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
And Mr. Gemnadios, are we going to reverse the process to bring Penelope Levy back, or are you all going to the Fragrant Void?
Let's go bring her back ourselves.
Yeah, sounds good. And well, you may not. That's actually not part of that opportunity. It's just you going to make contact with the entity in the camera. That's it. But you might find her, but you may not. Good. So I think this is going to be the night move to get the camera to operate properly, Mr. Gemnadios. But you know the procedure. You layer on the veils. You have the ecstasies of Pythia contains the words that have to be spoken. And there's a third aspect to it.
Is it tuning it to the orrery or
the orrery? That's right. You have to set the orrery in a certain way. Those instructions are contained in the ecstasies of Pythia. And so I love it. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail right now, Mr. Gemnadios?
I will transform my compatriots into albino peacocks or
something horrible will go wrong, right? Or something horrible will happen. Yeah, I like it. It's worse than that. You all might be trapped on the Fragrant Void plane, the plane of the Fragrant Void, and not able to return anytime soon, which could be a problem. You might also be albino peacocks, so who knows? If you're okay with this prospect, by all means, grab your dice and roll with sensitivity.
Is there an item that would be helpful?
Yeah, it could be something any of you brought. So.
Could I leverage the camera in the large boxy case as experience?
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, like a kind of maybe it's missing. Maybe you need like a little tool or something from there. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know anything about old cameras.
And so that would be at advantage?
Yeah, advantage.
12.
Nice. You will be able to access the Fragrant Void, no problem, and you get a little bonus as well. And I think your little bonus is going to be, your bonus is going to be that the entity will not be immediately hostile. But give us a scene. How's everyone being posed? What's going on here? Everybody can kind of describe what they're doing in the scene as well.
Alexander will set up the camera do the process as necessary and take the little like a squeezy thing on a hose over to stand directly in the center of the camera and stand up a little straighter, hold his arms very very handsomely, and just wait.
Sounds like maybe Periwinkle is going to be the one operating the camera to take the picture.
No, Drew was describing a cable release, the squeezy thing on the hose.
Got it.
You
Oh, yeah.
trigger it
Okay.
from a
Yeah,
distance.
yeah. Okay, good. All right. What is Periwinkle doing then? Is he?
What I was picturing is I'm, arranging myself formally, and then kind of last minute, I'm like, "Oh, Periwinkle, get in here, get in here, get in here!"
No.
And kind of tuck him into my arm for a little, I don't know, a Morris squeeze.
Lord White?
I think she would situate herself so that she has like a strange fascinator on that goes down to just like above the eyes, and she would try to make it seem as though she's just quite nestled in between the two of them, at least maybe not in the foreground, but maybe in the background, and then the fascinator sort of like adorns both of them as well as herself.
Good. And there's the flash of the powder, bright white light, briefly blinding. But more importantly, before your vision clears, before you realize what's going on, your nostrils are filled with the smells of warm spices, cinnamon, clove. It's something like that. It's a little off, but it kind of generally smells like the warm spices. Willoughby. You're at Chelsea Harbor, near Cremorne Gardens. It's nighttime. What's your approach here?
I have, on my own, schlepped the same record setup that we had used previously, and have set that up, and maybe in the last few weeks or days that we had been not actively pursuing this threat, we have actually a recording of somebody singing this old song, and that is what I am going to play to lure the creature to me.
Song is playing. You see something rising up from the water. It is the shape of a woman with a gauzy, seaweed draped dress clinging tightly to their body, and hair. The hands are webbed, and there are dorsals or fins like on the forearms. And the face, since I know you're a Drag Race fan, the face is like when Asia O'Hara did the fish face mask in, it's like that, right? As the creature rises up. And we'll put a pin in that for now. Let's go back to the Grand Guignol. Drew, describe Act 1, in which the two children are very abusive to the nanny.
We see it's almost staged like a series of montages with them playing cruel tricks on the nanny. And in the final one, they entice her into searching for the younger child who seems to be hiding in a pantry cupboard. And when she goes to look in, they push her into the cupboard and jam it locked. And we see that she is in there for a full night and most of the next day before someone rescues her.
Good. Mr. Gemnadios, Lord White, Dr. Tagore, you all find yourself. The best way I can describe it is it's like a place of shadow. You can't see more than a few feet ahead of you. It's just like a mist. But it's not a rolling mist. It's not a fog. It's as if you were looking through it's just as if the mistiness just kind of like is static, you know? And you see in the distance, very far distance, possibly miles and miles away, you just occasionally see hulking, shadowy figures moving in and out of your vision. The sound is like, you know, whenever you're like hear an electronic device's tone, it's so like you can't like, it's not like really audible, but you can like hear just like a little, like in your ear, like a little buzzing or like a little humming. It's like that. That's what the place sounds like. Dr. Tagore, what do you do?
I'm going to whisper, Miss Levy? Miss Levy, are you here?
Mr. Gemnadios, what are you doing?
I think he's looking for something of this place. He wants to know what is out there, so he'll walk towards one of the shrouded shapes.
Lord White, what are you doing?
I want to know if the smell is coming from the ground itself. So I want to see what we're standing on and smell it.
You touch the ground beneath your feet, and it's perfectly smooth and cold, like marble. It even has the look of like black marble mottled with silver.
I use my walking stick to chip it.
It doesn't chip.
Dang.
Dr. Tagore, there's no reply to just calling out for Ms. Levy. What do you do then?
I'm going to reach back for Periwinkle's hand, and who knows whether I actually grab his hand or something else in the void. Or someone else, some other being.
He is a little frightened, but his hand is clammy. He's excited as well. He's trying to speak to you, but the words don't make any sense. It's just, was
my own voice scrambled whenever I tried to speak or no?
Doesn't sound that way to you, but it does to the others.
Gotcha.
And Periwinkle looks confused, like he can't understand what you're saying.
Let's assume I have some of that silver thread with me. Kind of peel some off and try and gesture to people as though like we should tether each other so we don't get lost, even though my explanation I'm sure comes out garbled. I'll say, you know, hold on to this so we don't get separated, and it comes out.
Right. Mr. Gemnadios, do you take this over thread?
Yes, but with a look like, this is for your sake, not mine.
Dr. DeGore, I'd like you to do night move to sort of, I think it's more of like just keeping your composure so you can kind of go through this space somewhat safely or just not freaking out. You can certainly use the thread as an item for advantage if you wish. But I would like to know, what are you afraid is going to happen right now if you don't keep it together here, Dr. DeGore?
Good question. I'm realizing as I answer that, I also said we were going to bring along a grave robber with us.
Harley. You're going to bring on the resurrectionist, right? Did you do that? Did she end up doing that, or kind of it doesn't really fit the scene? But I don't know. It's up to you.
In a way, yeah. Initially, it seemed that way, but then why would we have this guy pose in a photograph? It makes no sense.
Maybe he's like watching the Society Obscura. Maybe
that makes sense. Having
maybe your bodies are like, maybe you're like not. Maybe your bodies are not like. Maybe you're projecting right now. Like your bodies.
Yeah, let's see what that can be done there. Okay.
He's very good at bodies, so hopefully he doesn't sell something.
Right. Right. This is exactly my thing. That is, if my body is left behind,
I don't think you know,
in the world. Well, this is my theory in my head: is that I am spiritually here, but physically not, and that Harley will take my body and sell it to some upstart, galvanist who thinks they know what they're doing and make a mess of it. Where I am the one who deserves the fame for being the first to bring life back to dead flesh. It should not be my flesh brought back to life in some horrible abomination.
Good. So this is what you're worried about then?
Yeah, that's my fear, that I'm only here spiritually and that my body has collapsed at the Society Obscura and Harley is making away with me right now.
Well, it's got to be worse than that somehow. And I think it's worse than that. Your bodies will be put on display in the Society Obscura, like Eva Perón, in glass coffins. That would really be quite an object, right? To have in photos.
All right, so night move 2 dice.
2 dice. If you're marking the silver thread, you can take it with 3, and take the 2 highest results. Okay,
and then which stat am I using?
Do I?
Which statistic?
Sensitivity. Yeah.
Sensitivity. All right. 2. Oh wait, the thread also. 8, 9, 10. 10.
Good. I'm just going to say that like the thread allows you all to kind of like stay together, to, it's almost like an anchor a little bit to either this world or your bodies or something. But in any case, as long as you have the thread, you won't just like lose control physiologically or psychologically while you're in the fragrant void. Lord White, after you try to chip the marble and nothing happens, what do you do?
I'd follow after Mr. Gemnadios, and I'd let people know where I am by quietly humming a Queen song, maybe God Save the Queen.
Very good. Mr. Gemnadios, whether you realize it or not, the group is sort of behind you. You eventually walk out onto a precipice that looks out over into the yawning, misty void. And then quite suddenly you feel the glare of a spotlight on you. You are there, illuminated. It's peeling away the mist. And you look up and you realize the spotlight is a beam of light emanating from a titanic, shadowy creature that has risen up from the void and is glaring at you. I would like the night move from you as well, please, to maintain your composure. What are you scared is going to happen if you lose it here?
I think he'd be most worried about looking weak instead of godlike to the others.
It's worse than that. You will kneel before this being and worship it. If you're okay with that, you can proceed. Otherwise, you can let someone else step into the spotlight.
No, he would not do that. Could I use my mirror that shows a reflection of the St. James's Street ghost and explain that as he has practiced looking imperious in front of otherworldly beings?
Sure, I'll take it. I like it. I have to say, Brian's joke here in the chat, does this otherworldly being make my godlike status look small? Good. I love it. Roll with advantage.
That's 8.
Good. You are going to succeed in keeping it together here. I am going to give you a condition, however. That condition is going to be... No condition. I'm going to just take the mirror. The mirror is destroyed. Maybe you do you actually physically pull it out, or is this just something you kind of had, like, that you're remembering?
The latter.
Okay, yeah, the mirror will be destroyed, so you can remove that from your personal quarters. But give me the scene. How do you hold it together? How are you facing down this being? What does this look like?
He will approach the edge as if he has no fear, but meanwhile his hand that's holding the string, like the knuckles are going white with how tight he's holding on. And he will take the same kind of imperious pose that his masterwork is and look down his nose at the creature.
Willoughby, your creature, has risen up from the water, and she's sort of approaching, sloshing through the water in the moonlight. What do you do?
I call out to her. Be at peace. I come as your friend.
She extends her slick, rubbery, fishy hand toward you.
I give her a high five. No. I do take her hand gently.
You are quite suddenly filled with a memory that is not yours. It's a memory of a young Theodora and this woman before she was a revenant, before she was a creature of the deep, enjoying their lives together, their pirating lives together. Just describe a little bit of it.
Theodora had rescued this woman from another pirate ship during an encounter in which there was many discussions of merits and fairness and no, I own half of that and you get half of this. And in the bartering, saved this woman from what was otherwise a very abusive and terrible life aboard a different pirate ship. And they became attached to each other, perhaps her to Theodora just out of necessity, and began to grow to love her. And as she served Theodora in a number of capacities, it eventually became quite sexual. And towards the inevitable hurling over the side of the ship, perhaps this woman was quite taken and therefore a little clingy, and Theodora couldn't be bothered to expend the emotional effort any longer and did away with her quite coldly.
Very good. Let's go back to the Theatre Grand Guignol. Sarah, please describe Act 2, in which, pushed past her limits, the nanny murders her bratty charges. How does the audience respond?
At the beginning of Act 2, we see the nanny struggling to dress the older of the two children, who is fussing and trying to bite, and she's spitting at her. And in this struggle of trying to get an arm through the jacket, she hits the wall unintentionally, and the mirror falls and shatters. And she, in a fit, finally fed up with it all, snaps the kid's neck, and the audience gasps. And the other kid, wide-eyed and horrored, the nanny picks up a shard of the mirror and just begins to plunge it over and over again into the smaller child, full of blood rage and lust. And it goes on too long, like still beating a dead horse, the audience still in shock. And when she faces the audience covered in this fake gore and blood, the audience in the back of the house gives a full-throated cheer.
Good. The being begins to speak to all of you, but you understand it, but it doesn't sound like words. It sounds a little bit like if you've ever played the video game Control, whenever the hero uses the phone to talk to the board, it's like that. It's like, but you understand. The being is saying, is giving you a choice. You have to accept a connection to the void. You have to almost become one with the void. And if you do, you'll be allowed to leave safely with Miss Levy. If you do not, the being will destroy you. We can interpret that to mean you'll have to do battle with the being. So you can fight the thing, or you can accept its offer. And you all have to agree.
Does it say how we become one with the void?
No.
Even though none of you may understand me, I will turn to Dr. White. I say, God, I keep saying that, Lord White, and say, do you have experience in fighting beings such as this?
I can't say I've met such a creature or something approximating it.
You can't understand each other, by the way. This conversation is not happening because you're because you're just like, oh, it's so wrong. It's an out of character decision.
Then an interesting sort of out of character question is, how do we agree then? What must we communicate through?
Well, it probably just senses our acquiescence. But the real question for me is, would Mr. Gemnadios do that?
Well, it's better than being destroyed, so yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm a lover, not a fighter. I don't see Dr. Tagore pulling off some amazing act of bravado here.
So it sounds like the decision is made. Large, shadowy tentacles rise up from the corpus of the being, and the tentacles reach out. They're each as thick as a tree trunk. They reach out and they touch you, and you feel a frisson and electricity as they touch you. you all will be taking a condition drawn to the void. The condition cannot be cleared, but it does give you access to a custom move called Voidwalker. When you have the cosmic passage marked and use an object of power to attune to the fragrant void, you'll roll with sensitivity. On a hit, you travel to the fragrant void and gain keen insight into a threat of your choice. And I reveal some clues, 2 of them in fact. On a 10 plus, no entity from the void will disturb you. On a miss, you unmark the cosmic passage and then cross it off your sheet. You can never have it again. But you're all taking Drawn to the Void as a permanent condition. And that is how you'll be able to leave. You'll be able to find Ms. Levy and leave this place. Willoughby, you have this memory, and then it disappears quite suddenly when you're millimeters away from this fishy face, dripping salt water, or not salt water. What kind of water is in the Thames? Just water.
Murky.
Right? Murky water, dripping murky water. Little sea bugs crawling in and out, but it's there. What do you do?
I am trying really hard not to puke because the smell's got to be pretty ripe at this point. But I do look this creature in the eyes and I tell her that I understand why you are here. I despise Theodora just as much as you do. And I can give you peace because between myself and my friends, I promise, I swear to you, we will kill her.
Back at the Grand Guignol, Brian, describe Act 3, in which the nanny gets her comeuppance. As always, the final scene should be very, very bloody right before the curtain drops.
We see the nanny in her room. Her charge is gone. She no longer has employment here. And she's packing up that little case or suitcase that she has, puts the thread dutifully away in its little position, picks up a photograph of her own children, whether they're deceased also or mysteriously not with her or elsewhere in someone else's care, we just don't know. But packs away this photograph. And in the gray window outside of her room, there's a tapping at the glass, which should be impossible. She's on the 3rd floor. And she goes to check the window, opens it up, peers outside. There's nothing. And turns around, and the bloody ghosts of these 2 murdered children are right there behind her. And she, does that horrified step back, tips over the threshold, and falls, impaling herself on the iron works at the top of the roof, and blood trickling down into the gutters and rolling away into the streets.
Good. I think I just want to have a little round robin of scenes between our 3 Voidwalkers. Finding Penelope Levy, being back, navigating your way through the void, through the misty void, and eventually being back in the Society Obscura. Whoever wants to just give us the first part of the scene, please start.
I like the idea of her materializing out of the light. Like she's just constructed whole cloth from the light, like maybe even slowly like a digitized processor or printer.
I'm picturing something where these massive tentacles you described somehow taper down to the size of the thread, like the thread and the tentacles conjoin together in a way that doesn't necessarily make logical sense, but provides a path to follow, kind of, you know, reeling it in, but it's impossibly large in places and getting down to mortal being size as we return home.
Alexander will definitely kind of incline his head at the entity as in thanks and recognition, like it did them a favor.
And
Willoughby shows up out of nowhere with a compass that points in a direction that's not north to lead the party back.
let's say no to that. You all appear in the astral plane room again. It's almost like no time has passed. You're like still holding your positions that you were holding when, and you can even still smell the what is it, phosphorus, I guess, that you use for the flashbang. But you smell it, that smell. And Periwinkle spins you around Dr. Tagore and just kisses you.
That's
And
lovely. I give him a very warm kiss back.
and Ms. Levy is Ms. Levy just faints. And if there's nothing else, we will end that night phase for the three of you.
I've got one visual thing that this is going back to the Mr. Gemnadios' mirror breaking back in his quarters. I was picturing the glass fracturing outwards, but then the silver within kind of pushing, almost pulsating out from the cracks. Does that visually make sense? Just sort of I don't know, a visual, what do you call that, afterward or something?
Yeah. Good. Willoughby. The creature has heard your offer, and she nods her head and steps backwards into the water, slowly submerging down. What do you do at the end?
I wait for the song to finish. I lift the needle off the record and set it aside and stare out at the ocean, the moon reflecting off the water. And I just sit ponderously and sip from my flask for a while.
Good. That concludes the night phase, and that is the resolution of Whateley Camera and the Creature of Cremorne Gardens. Let's go to the dawn, the lovely dawn. Rewards. Ooh, so many rewards. Let's do the Whateley Camera first. Everyone gets something, even you, Willoughby, because you are in Hargrave House. The rewards here are the Whateley Camera. You can add it to your personal quarters, whoever wants it. A moon mask, really similar to the sun mask worn by the masked gentleman at Jenny Johnston's opium den, but it's a moon. Or you can take a memento from the investigation, ask another hunter what it is, and add it to your personal quarters. Who wants what?
Can Alexander call dibs on the camera?
Yes, I think that's a very good plan. Because Willoughby can then steal it and go to the void themselves in the future.
Somebody give me a periwinkle based memento.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
A small trunk of costumes.
Sounds very handy. I like it.
I too will take a memento. As I was not there, I think the hunter's bringing back something for Willoughby, kind of like the souvenir T-shirt. I like that. Don't be a souvenir T-shirt.
We went to the fragrant void and made a deal with a dark entity, and all we got was this T-shirt.
I think it's worse than that. It's actually a keychain.
It's a what?
A keychain.
Fragrant void keychain. Heard.
How about I would say, Willoughby, how about you get since you have the Sons of Another World, how about someone brought you back a perfectly smooth, flawless cube of that black marble, with the silver marbling. I think that would be interesting.
Yes, I agree.
I'll take the moon mask.
And in that case, let's take a look at the rewards for the Creature of Cremorne Gardens. If you have the Cosmic Passage mask, if you have the Cosmic Passage marked, you can take this reward. Otherwise, you can't take it, which is Greco, the second-sided boy, can be consulted via dreams on an ongoing basis. Otherwise, it's a memento from the investigation. Ask another hunter what it is and add it to your personal quarters.
Is this strictly for Willoughby?
It's for whoever has the cosmic. No, this is everyone. But that particular reward, to take that one, you have to have the Cosmic Passage marked.
These are the rewards from Cremorne Gardens,
From
correct?
Cremorne Gardens, yeah.
Well, I would love to take that advice in dreams. I think that seems like a lot of fun to play with if anybody else isn't hungry for it.
Alexander is done with Greco.
Thought so.
Just make a note, Willoughby. You can put it in your personal quarters if you want as a note there about Greco, the second-sided boy. Everyone else gets to ask another player to name a memento.
Fraser, what memento would Alexander get?
Perhaps as a thank you, permanent tickets to the gardens.
Very good.
I'm picturing, for if this works for Lord White, that Mr. Turner left something behind, a clue from Cremorne Gardens or whatever, with kind of he said you know what to do with this. I don't know what that is. Is there something that would make logical sense?
Maybe something from Mr. Turner's personal quarters. Could be interesting.
I don't remember what was found at Cremorne Gardens.
Oh, it doesn't
Maybe
have
it
to,
doesn't
I mean, it
matter.
could be like, we can be a little loose with that if we want. I think it's okay. If you want something from the list, from Mr. Turner's list, I guess.
Fraser,
Everyone else is
that's
supposed to take
useful,
something
no?
too. You're all supposed to take something from Mr. Turner's personal quarters, by the way. But otherwise, yeah, if you want to define it more sharply, Brian, something else.
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, if you wanted to define it more precisely, whatever is whatever Lord White gets, that's fine as well. Something different from Cremorne Gardens.
Gotcha. Oh, what about a locket? Very encrusted, kind of barnacled almost, that, you know, may or may not have been given to the creature by Rothway.
Nice. It's good.
Oh, I like that because then I could possibly fuck with the mastermind with
Right.
it.
Yeah. You can be like, look at this.
Yeah. Is this from your lover?
Yeah, that's good. Can I change it and say it's a curio pendant? I think that'd be kind of fun. Same idea, but I think it's more because it might be like carved in sapphire and pearl, right?
Are we waiting on another one?
Yeah, I think Mr. Gemnadios has to, or no, Mr. Gemnadios got yours. Willoughby got yours. Dr. Gore, have you gotten something?
Yeah, you should give me one.
I think
Dr. Gore, did you get something from Cremorne Gardens or reward?
No.
Okay,
I
just
did.
name another player to define
Oh,
it for
get
you.
it. Sarah, you want to define it?
the record player.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. Yeah, awesome. Because it would be this time it would have been like one of those would have played cylinders, right? I think so. Good. Okay,
It's a
rewards
song
are
you can
sorted.
teach your child.
Rewards are sorted. Dawn questions. All right. Everyone is getting, did you resolve a threat? So everyone gets that one. Lord White, did you experience an echo in the night?
I tried to with the colors being heightened in the room, and then the colors in the play for the person being mentioned, the nanny.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm into that. Did you deliver a chilling, dead-eyed monologue about the horrors of the world? I don't think so.
I wish.
That's the Apocalypse Now option. Did you have a face-to-face encounter with a mastermind? You did, actually. Yeah, I teed you up on that one. Let's go over to Willoughby. Did you experience an echo in the night?
I shattered the mirror in the play, thinking that was also how Mr. Gemnadios' mirror was destroyed.
Yeah, shattering the mirror in the play. Wait, did the yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can take that. You can take that XP. Did you demonstrate obsequious behavior towards your employer in front of others?
I mean, before he died, I was definitely being somewhat obsequious.
Oh yeah, to Mr. Pomeroy, because you like did the whole I'll answer the door and the whole.
Sure, let me make you tea.
Right. Yeah. I think that was pretty good. Did you ensure your employer got credit for your triumphs? No. Dr. Tagore, did you experience an echo in the night? I feel like you did several.
The threat was the main one I was at.
Yeah. And then did you show physical affection toward the child while someone else was looking? No. Did you put your hands in a pile of guts and love every moment of it? I don't think that happened.
When did we do that autopsy? Was that prior?
That was the last dawn phase.
Okay, yeah. So
you got credit for that one already. Or no, because you didn't have that one selected then, I don't think. And Mr. Gemnadios, did you experience an echo in the night?
I did not.
Did you secretly show a vulnerable side to someone? Oh, it doesn't even matter because you don't get experience.
It does not.
So who cares? You don't get XP. You're XP'd out. I am curious about these things though. Did you secretly show a vulnerable side to someone?
He was too tainted.
Yeah. Did you let someone touch you and make them pay a price for doing so? I don't think that happened either.
Mr. Pomeroy didn't live long enough.
Yeah, indeed not. Very good. And that's Dawn questions sorted. You can choose new ones if you wish. Resurrectionists. I don't think nothing really happened with the resurrectionists. Memories of Servant. Willoughby, you can take something from a scene and give it to someone else.
So I actually do want to take the orrery
Okay.
from that, and I will give that to Lord Florence.
Very good. Mark an XP. And Lord Florence, you can add the orrery to your personal quarters.
That was like the orrery was displaying like those strange planets and
The
things,
model of
right?
planets, strange planets, yeah. It can be moved around and adjusted.
Seems like something you'd like.
And I don't think we have any Janus masks this game. I don't recall any. In that case, that concludes our session. Let's do stars and wishes. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Before we do that, would the mother have a chance to resurrect the child?
Oh, like as a stinger, maybe? That could be fun. We could do it as an end of credits scene if you want, Dr. Tagore.
That sounds great. Let's do it.
Very good. But let's do stars and wishes. So we'll do that first.
I want to start with stars. First of all, that was the best use of it's worse than that. The t-shirt to keychain, like that gut busted me. That was amazing. As was another star for Mr. Gemnadios today, the expecting everybody to turn into albino peacocks as the terrible thing that could happen if everything went wrong with the Whateley camera. That was also inspired. I also really liked when Dr. Tagore did the not in the room, and you turn around and you did the Batman thing where suddenly you were there after all. That was quite nice. And as far as wishes, I am really excited to see how the character fold in happens as we start to burn these characters to the ground and resurrect new ones, and how everything folds in, because I don't know how Willoughby feels about Lord White, or how Lord White's little idiosyncrasies are going to change the story and how we investigate. And so that's really exciting to see the Explorer come into play. So
yeah, it has a very like late season character introduction, like when they introduce a character at the very end of a season who's going to be a big deal in the next season, it's got that feeling.
Or like in the cop shows where their partner dies in season 2 and then they have a new partner now in the next season.
Hopefully it's better than that. Those are usually the hated transitions, like when Mulder left the X-Files and we got the guy from Millennium instead. Or was it the guy from T2? I always get those guys confused.
No, it's Millennium.
Is it Millennium? Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to go next for stars and wishes?
I'll go. Stars for Willoughby handling the creature all by themselves and knocking it out of the park. Also, I really liked the scene between Lord Florence and the Mastermind. That was some real frenemies vibe that I enjoyed. Also, yeah, Dr. Tagore getting some more time with, oh gosh, now his name has escaped me. His
Periwinkle.
Periwinkle, thank you. And as usual, star for the noises and sound effects that you summon, Jason. They're always gold. Wishes, I'm also looking forward to seeing more of Lord Florence in our group, but also seeing, because I assume it will actually affect things more, seeing Lord Florence with the next mastermind and the ties there. That'll be cool to see that from the beginning.
I love it. I'll go with my star. I also really enjoyed the scene between Theodora and Lord White in the beginning. It felt like such a good introduction to Lord White, and I liked the little verbal sparring that was happening between the two of them. That was really enjoyable. Star for the way that the Void scene played out. What I really like about this part of that threat is, at least the way I run it, is it introduces a different kind of horror. Like it goes from gothic horror to be something with like something like a little bit more technological is not the right word, but like more
Transdimensional.
Transdimensional, right? Yeah. Very like it like the softness and of the setting like peels away to this like very cold, angular, alien kind of horror, which I think is really, really, really great. And so that was fun for me. And then I also really enjoyed I thought the scene at the dress shop was really like quite fun. Just sort of, I was imagining it all, like the different things that were going on. It was really, really, really good. And yeah, and just Mr. Gemnadios like facing down the void entity. I thought that was really, really good. It was a great scene. And for some reason the stakes of that felt like really high, even though like the creature wasn't going to kill Mr. Gemnadios right away, but just the fact that Mr. Gemnadios would have to like supplicate to it like felt very, very high stakes to me for some reason. So, well, not for some reason, I know why, because it would have been like a complete 180 for the character, right? So wishes, you are one threat away from facing Theodora, and so I'm just really excited for that to be happening, to be kind of, I think probably next session we'll be sort of sorting out this last threat, and then the session after that we'll start the mastermind threat, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I also really liked the initial scene, the onboarding of Florence into Theodora, especially the tea part. Like I presumably could have just been dead, but that wasn't
right.
fun.
Yeah,
so.
like Theodora, like this. I got the impression like Theodora like decided no, not yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Like put the tea down. Right?
Yeah, she's a cat that likes to play with her food. And I also really liked sort of the synchronicity of Florence having returned, presumably being away for the Queen, because of Theodora's sort of attackish stuff on the Queen. It makes sense for her to be like returned and rescinded in her duties.
Yeah, like you're there to defend the Queen, right? Yeah.
And I also really like the void stuff. It did feel like big stakes with like the battle of wills with Gemnadios versus an existential dread creature. Yeah, it was interesting to me to see if there was going to be any sort of like just what the dynamic and the relationship would be. And so I think it'd be fun for Gemnadios to return and even more flesh out a relationship, even maybe like to see what the dynamic evolves into even. And I really liked the fleshing out of Theodora with her whatchamacallit, the threat that ended up being discarded very coldly, but some of the background of how they got together was very nice. And then the Tagore popping out of nowhere was very like prescient to me because of the Theodora alluding to that she knew
she
the
told
secret.
you. Yeah, she told you. She's like, there's a secret place in the house.
So it felt very like this is exactly what would happen in a TV show to me. And then for Wish, I'm wondering actually when I'm fleshing out Florence some more, with the Mask of the Past, it's a story of a young man instead of Florence.
Yes.
So does that
it's
mean
not
that
your backstory? Yeah.
But is my backstory still I'm precluded from speaking about it still?
Unless it's a vulnerable move, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless it's the vulnerable move. Yeah.
Unless it's the vulnerable move. And it seems like from what I had sort of gotten the feel for was it's the vulnerable move and then also the mastermind revealing things.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. The mastermind can ask you, questions as well, which that's kind of how we can learn more about you as well. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That intimacy between the mastermind and the explorer is really important to that playbook. So
right. So I guess I'm just looking forward to all that kind of stuff, because I specifically peppered in a few things in the character creation where everybody's like, "What?"
Yeah.
So
I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out for sure. That's one of my wishes as well. I have a couple other stars before whoever goes next. Star for the silver thread thing, Brian, because like that's such a like the silver thread and the astral plane is such a like a thing, right? You know, the silver cord coming from your stomach or whatever, right? The fact that you kind of work that in, but it was a thing from another like thread, I thought that was super cool. Like just that was a good touch. And also a star for the whole scene with the fish creature. That was really lovely. There were no die rolls. It was a foregone conclusion, but it was fun to just see it play out the way it did. So who has to go still?
I do. The scene at the Taylors, the kind of lighthearted comicness of Periwinkle's celebrity, whatever you want to call it, with the dichotomy of the threatening note, just the idea of if you have a supernatural tailor and you don't pay their bills. God, thought that was amazing. Threatening tailors, I like it. Fraser, this is it seems like such a small thing, but for me, it added so much depth to Hargrave House. When you said that you saw plaques for Lord White throughout the house with your name on it. It's the addition of a new character for sure, but like, you know, we've built out all these different rooms in Hargrave House, and now I've got a whole extra layer of like, oh, well, what's in that room that ties into Lord White, and what's in that room that ties into Lord White. So that was really neat. What else? In the chat, Sarah typed Victorian fish drag, I can die happy. So that'll stick with me, I think. What was the other thing I wrote down? Drew, just the timing with you can forget about that tea, Willoughby, was the right punctuation for that moment. I felt like
really, star for all the little like snarky remarks Mr. Gemnadios was making about Willoughby. Like, yeah. I'm glad you decided to do your job today. Like that was all really great.
Yeah, it's great to see that relationship dynamic back in play.
Fabulous. Anything else before we go? Oh, well, I know we have one more thing to do.
Drew had asked about, the scene with the child. We want to do that? Fine.
Let's have it. Let's have it. Give us the scene. Like, what is the scientific, alchemical, experimental process to bring your sister or however you relate to the creature alive?
Yeah, this is my sister reborn, or it will be, if all goes according to plan. Conducted at sunrise, kind of a mix of galvanism, the latest in scientific technology, and a little bit of Vedic kind of literature liturgy, just to tie back to our our ancestral upbringing and theology that they may have believed. I'll read a few passages from the Rig Veda, and a theologian would know that I'm sort of misusing them, that they're cosmological, about rebirth rather than about the birth of an individual. But I'm going big here. Like, I am changing the way creation works. And so going to kind of it's not the same as Genesis, but sort of a Hindu version of the origin of the universe, as a little, not a prayer, but read some of that as I'm cranking up the little hand generator in that little crowded or low-ceilinged laboratory. In my personal effects, I've got a jar with a piece of a loved one, and have not used it yet. And it seems like this jar with the original part for my lost loved one ought to be her brain. To finally like plant that in, use the silver thread to stitch it shut, and attach electrodes, and hopefully no one will notice we're gaslit, I guess. We don't have, do we have electricity at Hargrave House? I don't know if you're going to notice any flickering of lights.
It's just gas lamps, yeah.
Yeah, so you won't notice a flickering of lights, but you might hear some strange buzzing, smell a little bit of a change in the ozone if you are awake or when you wake up.
I love it. Are you going to mark that jar?
Sure, that's been sitting there. I need to use it at some point. Now
So
is the time.
You'll make the roll with reason, and it will be at advantage. So 3 dice, take the 2 highest with reason, which is your best score. And so you should have a good shot here at this being very successful. Whoop.
A 10.
10. According to the move, the child is alive and they love you very much. You get a new dawn question that's always selected, which is, did you teach the child a lesson about what it means to be human? And I just want to see that little moment. What does it look like when your sister
Dottie
rises up from the table? Yeah.
Picturing for me, kind of an exhausted elation that my theories were right, it worked. For her, I think more of a bit of bewilderment. Like this body is not her. She's in a dimly lit sort of crawl space almost, and a bit of how the hell did I get here? Anything more than that? I don't know. Maybe it's just the right spot to stop.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, thank you all so much. I look forward to picking up next week. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.